Each week it feels like I get 1,001 questions about relationship and relationship as a spiritual path. So I thought I'd offer some more pointers and perhaps some more questions on how to work with our relationship. And oftentimes people, they'll come in and they'll ask, is this right? Is this okay? They're blaming and judging or whatever it is. But when we're struggling with a relationship, oftentimes it's good to step back, just from a place of mindfulness and to see that our relationships, that everything in this world is the spiritual path. And so I took a couple notes here about these common questions I get. One of the great questions we can ask ourselves is, am I willing to see that my relationship, that it is the path, that God is coming to me in the form of this other person and challenging me and inviting me to grow in some form or another. In the past, spirituality was often reserved for priests or monks or nuns. But as our relationship with God grows, as we move more into a non-dual understanding that everything is God, we must remember that everything is God. Everything. Everything is divine. Not just what feels good on the yoga mat. Not just what, our great experience we had while on a meditation retreat. But can we look at our relationship and see that it is God? It is the path. It is our evolving edge. Literally. And that it is a very high form of spirituality. To sit back and to contemplate your relationship and to see, am I meeting my relationship from a place of truth, or am I meeting it from a place of insecurity? We can ask these questions like, how would my heart respond in this situation? And we all know how our ego would respond. If someone comes home and they had a tough day at work and they're being angry, and they say something mean to us, and then we blame them or judge them and attack them, and we get into a mess real quick. But a great question is how would love respond in this moment? How would unconditional love respond? If we're fighting with our partner, a great question is what is the truth? Am I willing to put down blame, put down my argument? Just say, what is the truth? Sometimes the truth is we don't love each other anymore. Sometimes the truth is I'm not being honest, or she's not being honest. Sometimes the truth is, oh, I see that I'm hiding or she's hiding. And are we willing to open-heartedly look at that? Are we willing to see that this is an incredible spiritual practice? Now, most people think that anything which is peaceful is spiritual. Anything which is messy, well, that's human. And that doesn't count, or that's not included somehow. But if we truly believe that all is one, everything is God, and we can see that God is, yes, vast, spacious emptiness, vast, spacious, unborn, unmanifest perfection. And simultaneously, God is manifest. And anything manifest has a shadow. It has a form. It has an evolutionary edge, a growing edge. When we come to a place of struggle, oftentimes, we find ourselves just repeating the past again and again and again. And so are we willing to look at our past? Are we willing to be mindful and say, am I projecting my past into the present moment? Am I doing that with my partner? And I've met with hundreds of couples. And they've said, well, he's just like his father. She's just like her mother. But are we willing to see that who and what they are is divine? That they are not just their father or their mother, even if they're acting like their father and their mother. Can we look into their eyes and see their beauty, see their divinity? Can we see them new and fresh as divine beings? And yes, also human beings. Can we see both? When we tend to see one or the other, we make a great mistake, a great error. But when we can hold both, it opens us to a place of humility, a place of love, a place of radical forgiveness and inclusion. It's much easier to love and forgive your partner if you see her, if you can see him as God looking back to you. If you can see them as a human being who has struggles. If you have an understanding that knows the only reason your partner is ever mean is because they feel scared, alone, isolated, confused. But there's nothing inherently bad about them. But in a sense that they've been hijacked by some aspect of their childhood, some aspect of their humanity which is unresolved. And can you invite them into the process of growth with you? Now, that's a radically different way of meeting your partner. Instead of meeting them like this, which is what most people do, it's just two people banging heads. Two people trying to make the other person change. But a great question is can I change first? Can I be the bigger one? Am I willing to put down my struggle first and love them and bow before them and surrender to them and give everything to them and create the loving conditions for them to heal and for them to come forward? Am I willing to do that? Or do I expect them to do that for me first? And if I do have that expectation, is that arrogant? And so these are great questions. These are great questions to sit with. Questions like, do I expect my partner to be loyal in every single moment? And is that realistic? We could ask ourselves, what are our boundaries and expectations in relationship? Do we have unspoken rules that we live by? Are there things within us that we want to communicate but we don't? And is it helpful to hide these secrets, to not communicate? Am I afraid of communicating? Do I expect my partner to communicate open-heartedly to me, but when they do so, I blame them and judge them and attack them? So we can ask ourselves, am I living from my highest spiritual nature? Or am I expecting my partner to live from their highest nature and attacking them when they don't, and then me, in fact, I'm not living from that nature? We do all these funny things in relationship. Another great question is, do I expect my partner to do my work for me? Do I expect her to do my healing work for me? Expect her to show up in every way in which I don't show up? Do I expect her to pick me up always? Do I expect him to be a rock for me in every moment of my life? And as we realize, when we say these questions out loud, when we ask ourselves, if we ask our ego may say, yes, I expect them to be loyal in every single moment. But if we stand back in a place of humility and ask these same questions from our heart, oftentimes we see that we don't do this for our partner. We don't actually do this for ourselves. We may discover that we become quite insecure when we expect them to do something we aren't willing to do. In fact, I often tell couples, I tell individuals this, that oftentimes our partners will let us down, and God sometimes even engineers it so that they do let us down, so that we are forced to do our own work, so that we are forced to discover this incredible strength within us, this indestructible loving presence, which we are. But we never will find that if we have partners who show up and do everything for us and take care of us in every moment and heal our wounds. They can't do that work for us. Nobody can. And so, part of living on the spiritual path and being in a spiritual relationship is meeting our partners with humility, meeting them with love, knowing that we will fail and they will fail. And that's okay. And that failure forces us to turn inward, to do our work, to discover our truth, to discover our love, to discover all the ways in which we prostitute ourselves or sell ourselves short or give ourselves away or beg for someone to be there when we in fact are not there for our heart. When we are let down, it's an invitation for us to discover our true divine nature. It's easy to discover our divinity on a yoga mat, but quite difficult to discover when everyone has let us down. And so relationship is an incredible doorway into a place of absolute strength, a place of absolute love. We think relationship is all about someone loving us. But when we truly walk the spiritual path, we discover it's about us finding our true nature, living from this inner strength and love, and sharing this brilliance which we are with the world. When we discover that, relationship then becomes ultimately about sharing and has nothing to do with needing. It's a profound transformation which happens when we let go of relating to relationship from an egoic perspective and begin to relate to relationship from a heart perspective.